Mes chers amis, chers collègues, mesdames et messieurs, cet endroit est chargé de souvenirs. Au XVIIIe siècle, deux armées se sont affrontées ici dans une bataille qui a changé à jamais le cours de l'histoire de ce continent. Lorsque la fumée s'est dissipée, les deux commandants, Wolfe et Montcalm, gisaient mourants, leur destin lié même dans la mort. La Nouvelle-France était tombée. L'Amérique du Nord britannique était née. Il aurait été facile, voire prévisible, d'en rester là. Le scénario habituel de la conquête. Les vaincus sont assimilés, le langue supprimée, le foi interdite, le loi remplacée. C'est ce que les conquérants ont fait pendant des millénaires. De la grande déportation des Acadiens, en passant par le rapport de Durham suite à la rébellion des Patriotes, certains ont cherché à imposer ce modèle, l'assimilation, la logique habituelle de la conquête. Mais finalement, ce n'est pas la voie que le Canada a choisie. Et pourquoi? D'abord, grâce à la résilience des francophones. Une résilience parfois silencieuse, souvent combative, mais toujours déterminée à préserver une langue, une culture et une identité. Ensuite, par pragmatisme, les autorités britanniques ont rapidement compris qu'on ne gouverne pas durablement 70 000 habitants contre leur volonté, surtout avec des colonies américaines instables au sud. Ainsi, tout au long de l'histoire de notre pays, des décisions ont été prises pour construire quelque chose de différent ici, ensemble. Cela n'a pas toujours été une ligne droite. Les progrès ont été réalisés à travers des tensions, des compromis et parfois des échecs. Mais à plusieurs reprises, le Canada a choisi une voie différente. And from that choice, initially practical, even self-interested, something remarkable emerged. Not a myth, not a miracle, but a growing commitment that coexistence could make us stronger, that we can build an identity which not only respects our differences, but also celebrates them. Un projet audacieux que deux peuples récemment ennemis, parlant des langues différentes, pratiquant des religions différentes, vivant sous des traditions juridiques différentes, puissent partager un même pays and build it together. The Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor contends that people aren't blank slates, but that our identities, personal and national, are constituted through history. In his words, the past is sedimented in the present, and our choices are shaped by what came before. Our country was built on the bedrock of three peoples: Indigenous, French, and British. Long before the battle on these plains, long before the first French ships sailed up the St. Lawrence, Indigenous peoples were the original stewards of this land. They built nations, trading networks, and systems of governance that spanned the entire continent. The Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Innu shaped this land and were shaped by it. Then the French came. They built a new society adapted to the realities of North America, shaped by the river and forest, by trade with indigenous nations, and by the determination to survive and flourish in this land. When the British came, that civilization did not disappear. It endured, and now it thrives. La Confédération est née de cette histoire. L'une de ses pierres fondateurs, Joseph Cartier, a déclaré à l'époque que les Canadiens et Canadiens étaient des races différentes, non pas se faire la guerre, mais afin de travailler conjointement à leur propre bien-être, qui vivent les unes à côté des autres comme de grandes familles. Ce pacte a été renouvelé lorsque Wilfrid Laurier a gouverné un pays qui avait autrefois conquis son peuple. Il a été renouvelé avec l'avènement du bilinguisme officiel. Il a été renouvelé lorsque les Québécois ont choisi, à 2 reprises, de rester au sein du Canada, estimant que ce partenariat, malgré toutes ses frustrations, méritait non seulement d'être préservé, mais aussi d'être renforcé. Les plans d'Abraham symbolisent un champ de bataille, oui, mais ils symbolisent aussi le lieu où le Canada a commencé à faire le choix historique de privilégier l'adaptation plutôt que l'assimilation, ou le partenariat plutôt que la domination, ou la collaboration plutôt que la division. Oui, cette fondation était imparfaite. Elle excluait trop de gens. Elle reposait en partie sur la dépossession de peuples autochtones et sur la violation des traités conclus avec eux. Mais cette fondation reposait sur l'idée fondamentale que l'unité ne passe pas nécessairement par l'uniformité, que nous pouvons partager un pays sans nous conformer à une identité unique, que nos différences reconnues honnêtement et gérées dans le respect sont une source de force. Ce choix résonne à travers notre histoire. Il résonne dans les choix faits par les nouveaux arrivants venus de 4 coins du monde pour s'établir au Canada. Il résonne dans les choix faits par chaque génération déterminée à continuer à bâtir, non pas sur le sein ou sur la terre, mais sur quelque chose de plus exigeant et de plus durable, un engagement commun à vivre ensemble, à accepter les différences et à rechercher le bien commun. Et grâce à chacun de ces choix, le Canada est devenu plus riche, plus inclusif et plus équitable. What makes Canada a great country? It's a great country for everyone. It's the greatest country in the world to be a regular person. You don't have to be born rich or to a landed family here. You don't have to be a certain color or worship a certain God. Canadians believe in the value of every other Canadian, their boundless potential to make this great country even better. Our ancestors, despite their differences, believed in each other and in us. Now, there are long periods of history where these values can prosper unchallenged. Ours is not one of them. Our values must be fought for. That's what we are doing. That's what Canadians want. Canadians are up for it. Our history traces an arc of broadening inclusion from biculturalism to multiculturalism, from being British subjects to becoming Canadian citizens, from being 2 founding peoples to being many peoples living in true partnership with Indigenous peoples. From William Lyon Mackenzie King's social citizenship to Louis Saint Laurent's liberal internationalism, from Diefenbaker's One Canada to Pierre Elliott Trudeau's Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Brian Mulroney's environmentalism to Justin Trudeau's pluralism and reconciliation, each generation of Canadians has built a modern, progressive, liberal state that embraces the values of caring and sharing, of equity and fairness for all. Institutions make up the body of that progressive state, but our values are at its heart.
That we have broadened these foundations over recent years with the National Dental Care and National Child Care, the prescription insurance, and school food programs. In Canada, it's when we're united that we are strongest, when we look after each other and we make sure no child, no family, nobody is left behind. This spirit of solidarity contributes to our identity as a nation.
Canadians believe that fairness includes equality of opportunity, so that every Canadian has a shot at a good and fulfilling life. And the foundation of this commitment is access of every Canadian to comparable public services, particularly education and health care. These commitments were institutionalized when equalization was
A sincere welcome to our audience in Alberta. Joining us on our main network, we are covering the Prime Minister's special address to Canadians live from Quebec City. Let's take a listen.
We strengthen the sense of security that Canadians rely on every day. A strong and united Canada stands up for families and workers and protects those who are most vulnerable, whether they're a newcomer, a person with a disability, or a member of the two-spirited LGBTQI+ community. Now, friends, the advent of artificial intelligence will simultaneously challenge fairness, inclusion, and solidarity, while it creates enormous opportunities for how we live, work, and play. And these tensions can only be reconciled if AI works for all. AI can provide powerful solutions, better health care, better education, better government services. It can empower Canadians with new skills for more fulfilling jobs. But realizing that potential will require fundamental reforms to our education system, how we do skills training, and to our social welfare system. Our upcoming AI for All strategy will begin to tackle these challenges to maximize the potential of AI for all Canadians. Le développement durable assure l'équité.
Sustainable development ensures equity. Canadians are the guardians of a vast and precious territory. We've taken measures to protect it by using international treaties such as the Acid Rain Treaty and the 2015 Paris Accord, as well as our constant progress in our conservation of our natural heritage, thanks to commitments made in Montreal in 2022. In coming months, the government will implement new, ambitious plans to accelerate the sustainable development of the country, reduce end the energy for impact on individuals and research, and to protect natural resources in Canada.
Canada is an ambitious nation of builders and explorers. We mapped this continent before the Americans had even left St. Louis. We built a transcontinental railway in 5 years, the St. Lawrence Seaway in 4. We created a healthcare system that became a model for the world. This government, Canada's new government, shares that ambition. We've already removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade, and we're catalyzing hundreds of billions of dollars of investments in nation-building projects. We're doubling our defense spending by the end of this decade. And we're working to ensure that core Canadian capabilities, including in AI, in quantum, in cyber, and critical minerals, will maximize the economic benefit for Canadians of these new security imperatives. Now we need to execute fairly and fast. Les valeurs canadiennes telles que l'inclusion, la solidarité, l'équité,
such as solidarity, inclusion, ambition, sustainability are not abstract ideas, but integral parts of our very identity. Our task is to be inspired by it, to continue to build in these revolutionary times. Times like this, Canada needs to assume two roles at the same time. First, it needs to be a bastion of security and prosperity for our citizens. We need to defend our sovereignty, secure our borders, protect our communities, and build an economy that offers possibility to all Canadians.
That's why we're undertaking the strongest tightening of the criminal justice system in generations. It's why we're making the largest investment in defense in generations. It's why we're securing our borders through more CBSA agents and greater surveillance resources. And it's why we're building one Canadian economy and launching nation-building projects that will connect and transform our country. We will give ourselves far more than any foreign government can ever take from us. A core mission, while we're doing that, a core mission of our government is to lower costs for Canadians. That's why on day one we canceled the divisive consumer carbon tax. That's why we've cut income taxes for 22 million Canadians. It's why we've cut taxes for first-time homebuyers. It's why we reduced tolls on the Confederation Bridge and Atlantic Ferry fares. It's why we're launched, and we have launched, Build Canada Homes, to build affordable housing construction at a pace not seen since the end of the Second World War. This past fall, we launched the automatic federal benefits for up to 5.5 million low-income Canadians to ensure that our most vulnerable get the money to which they are entitled. We also made the National School Food Program permanent so that kids have the nutrition they need at school. We've started, as we mean to go on, with a relentless focus on improving affordability to help Canadians get ahead. I said we had to do two things. The first is to be a bastion. The second is to be a beacon, an example to a world that's at sea. In a time of rising populism and ethnic nationalism, Canada can show how diversity is a strength, not a weakness. In a time of democratic decline, we can show how rights can be protected and equal freedoms endure. And in a time of rising walls and thickening borders, we can demonstrate how a country can be both open and secure, welcoming and strong, principled and powerful. There are literally billions of people who aspire to what we have built: a pluralistic society that works, a public square that's loud, diverse, and free, an economy that delivers broadly shared prosperity, a democracy that chooses to protect the most vulnerable against the powerful. Now, Canada can't solve all the world's problems, but we can show that another way is possible, that the arc of history isn't destined to be warped towards authoritarianism and exclusion. It can still bend towards progress and justice. There you go. Nous ne faisons aucune illusion.
We have no illusions. The world is more and more dangerous and divided. Former alliances are being redefined, and in some cases, broken. In this new era, Canada's leadership will be defined not only by the strength of our values, but also the value of our strength. We are moving on to the most important military strengthening we've done since the Second World War. We have resources that the world needs. We have the talent needed to transform this potential into growth. And we have the ambition to face down the challenges of this new era. We consolidate our strength within our borders, and we are strengthening our resilience by diversifying partnerships around the world, thanks to a multidisciplinary approach that defines our values and advances our interests.
So let me return to where I began, where Canada began. 267 years ago, this ground was soaked with blood. Two empires had collided, one had prevailed, and the question was, what will come next? The answer that emerged slowly, imperfectly, not without struggle, but unmistakably, was cooperation, partnership, a shared future. That response was not inevitable. That response was chosen by British administrators who eventually saw the wisdom of cooperation, chosen by French Canadians who eventually committed to build within the new reality, chosen by the founders of Confederation who believed that two peoples could become partners in one country, and chosen by every subsequent generation who built on that foundation. Les traces de notre passé sont ancrées.
Traces of our past are anchored in our present, in our two official languages,
dans notre système fédéral,
in our federal system, and our
d'appartenance.
cooperation that grows from a feeling of belonging.
De cet héritage.
We are now the guardians of this heritage, and it's our responsibility to have it bear fruit, since we have the chance to do so.
In this time of great consequence, we are choosing. We are choosing to work together to build one Canadian economy. We've made great progress over the past year. Now we have to redouble our efforts with the provinces and territories. We're choosing to find new markets and develop new partnerships. We've announced a dozen new economic and security partnerships across 4 continents in the last 6 months. More will come, all will deepen. We choose to build in solidarity with Canadian workers, creating hundreds of thousands of good-paying union jobs and investing in apprenticeships and skills training so that young Canadians can have the careers of tomorrow. On choisit de bâtir avec des ressources canadiennes.
We choose to build with Canadian resources,
de technologie et de matériaux canadiens.
using materials and workers that are Canadian. We will be our own best customers.
De manière durable.
and build durably, because we know that fighting climate change is both a moral duty and an economic imperative.
Choosing to build inclusively, in full partnership with Indigenous peoples, inclusively to ensure that AI benefits all Canadians, to respect diversity, to accept others, and to combat hate so that every Canadian feels free to be themselves and can thrive in the greatest country on earth. When we live our values, we grow as individuals and we build as a people. When we're kind, kindness grows. When we're united, unity grows. When we're Canadian, inclusive, fair, ambitious, Canada grows. Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous.
We are masters at home. It's our country, our future, and it's our choice.
We choose to build a bright future worthy of the ground on which we stand. We choose Canada. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
All right, that is Prime Minister Mark Carney in Quebec City, delivering an address to Canadians as his office builded. A number of his cabinet ministers surrounding him there. They will remain in Quebec City through to the end of tomorrow. They are huddled there for a cabinet retreat ahead of the return of the House of Commons on Monday. The Prime Minister drew some links with the speech that he delivered in Davos, Switzerland a few days ago to the World Economic Forum, essentially aiming to connect the national or more domestic situation with the world as we live in it, the way in which he characterized it during that speech in Davos, and hit on some policies that he has pursued or his government has pursued since they came into office, and then promised to redouble those efforts going ahead. I am joined now by Scott Reed, Lisa Raitt, and Kathleen Monk, who were with us in the lead up to the delivery of that speech and who listened in to the speech in its entirety and are here for their takes on the other end of it. Scott, I'll start with you. We had thought maybe there would be something specific announced in this or to drive the agenda heading into the return of the House of Commons. There was no policy announcement. It was mostly a recap alongside a history lesson, a recap of what they've done so far and some promises to keep doing it. What stood out to you?
Well, as you say, I mean, we expected a speech about national priorities. We got a speech about national identity, about the idea of Canada. I suppose what stood out to me, because it was largely a standard political speech, a recap of agenda items that they pursued,